Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.wordpress.com, back again here with another Sunday scoring project. And this time this is a card of hope really, which I'm sending out to someone close to us. I'm using a new stamp set which I wasn't sure about to start off with until I saw some of the card, and you know, it is beautiful. It's called High Tide, and it's got some really lovely sentiments to give hope and support, and just a bit of a "you're wonderful" just a message to people, and say we're here for you. So that's the stamp set I'm using, and actually I'm doing quite a lot of stamping. The card itself is very similar to the concertina card I'd made the other day, but this time it's landscape, which obviously fits the orientation of this stamp set. And so when it stands up, you can see that's what it looks like from the top, but you get this kind of effect here. You know, it really kind of extends it out, and lots of stamping, but a simple card construction. So I hope you enjoy making it with me, and I hope you enjoy this stamp set. So it was one that actually, now I've got it, I'm really glad I've got it, even though it's not always the sort of stamp set you wish you were having to use. So to start off with then, I'm going to do this in centimetres, and again measurements will be in inches on my blog, and I'll try and do inches as I go along. The first thing you need is a piece of card which is 14.5 by 10.5, which is this one here. That's going to be our back, and then the piece to do the concertina is 22 by 10.5, and you need to score every 3.5 centimetres. So that's 3.5, 7.5, 10.5, 14, 17.5 and 21. So for those working in inches, it's 10 by 4 inches, and it's every inch and a half. So 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5 and 9 inches. And that gives you just a little skinny bit at the back, which is where you're going to attach a large piece of card. So you just need to concertina fold those. I've just done that quickly by hand because I can't see my scorer in the debris that is my desk at the moment, but I'm sure it'll turn up in a moment, just when I've finished kneading it. But if you have a useful tip actually, if you can't find your bone folder and you've got a clean ruler, then you can just use that just to help create your creases. So you've got a zigzag piece of card, and then all you need to do is attach your piece of card to the back there. So I'm just going to use my fuse here and just run that along the edge. Just make sure if there's any over the edge, just to flip it in almost. What you don't want is too much sticky showing, although that will be covered up. And then when you align it, if you just align it slightly to the right of the crease, it will sit better. So that piece of cardstock is 5 3/4 by 4 inches, so 14.5 by 10.5, and that is your card base. So very simple. You're then going to attach a layer of, I've used real red, this is specific point, and I've used some real red here, and the real red cardstock is 10 by 14 centimetres, so that is 5.5 by 3 3/4. I'm just going to layer that on the top there, and then I've got 3 pieces of real red to go on the other layers, and these are 9.5 by 3 centimetres, and that is 1.25 by 3 3/4. So just pop those on there. So then our card base is done, so all that's left to do then are our stamped panels. But you could easily, with a different sentiment, obviously, I mean, the beauty of sentiments, you haven't got to use the sentiments that come with the stamp set. You could, if you've got somebody who's into their sailing maybe, or off on a holiday, this would be a lovely, a lovely card for someone with a different sentiment. So that's how your card base is going to look. Put that to one side now, and we're now going to get on to our stamping. So I've used quite a few ink colours on this because, like I say, it's a bit of a special card, but you use the colours that you've got to hand that suit you. I've got 2 pieces of cardstock. This is for the main one, and this is for our side panels. So for this one, you're going to need a piece which is 9.5 by 9 centimetres, which you're then going to cut into 3 pieces of 3 centimetres once they're stamped, and a piece which is 9.5 by 13.5 centimetres. So that one is 5.25 by 3.5, and this will be a 3-inch by 3 3/4 piece, which you'll cut into 1-inch strips. So to start off with, what you're going to want to do is stamp your lighthouse. And what I wanted to do is make sure that our lighthouse was sort of, visible here. So what you want to do is stamp your lighthouse around about 1 inch away from the edge. And I used Sahara sand for my lighthouse because I didn't want anything too harsh. I wanted you to kind of see that the lighthouse and the shadow sort of was blending in. So hence I used that one. So of the 2 stamps, you've got one that's a solid stamp, which is this one here, which is nice and pink from my real red, and this one here, which has got the detail on it. So all you're going to do is lightly tap. We're going to bring in a stamping pierce mat, actually, because we're using photopolymer stamps. And I'm going to just pop that, and it's actually really quite close towards the top that I'm putting it in. And as I said, just about 1 inch or so away from the edge. So that's our lighthouse. We'll be using the Sahara sand again in a minute. And then in with the real red with the solid. So this is where you've got photopolymer, which is great because you can just line that up over the top. Press down, and there's our lighthouse. Okay, and you can just see you've got some lovely detail on there on the lighthouse. So now we want to build up our scene around our lighthouse. So we're going to use again Sahara sand, and I'm going to come in and do the actual lighthouse itself. So if there's any bit which isn't quite aligned, you're not going to see it because it's going to be covered up by the sand, and that gives our effect. Now what I've then done is I've then stamped off to the left of that to continue the sand across. And because this is supposed to be a bit of a scene, I'm going to use this again across the bottom here. So I'm going to pop it there, and obviously we don't want the other bit, so there. And then with this set there is a small area of small stamp. Here you go, this one here, and I'm going to use that just to fill in with our gaps. And any bits that are a little bit gappy, it doesn't matter because it's designed to be sand. So that's our Sahara sand done. Our birds are actually done in early espresso. So again, our birds. Now with these, early espresso is very dark, so I've actually stamped off and then come in with my birds. So those are popping there. Stamp off again, and another set of birds here, and just another one peeking in from the left there. So those are our birds that we're going to have, and then we're going to come in with the some soft sky for the sea. And with this, what you need as well, what I've used, is just a scrap of paper, which I'm going to use as I go through to make sure when I overlap that it doesn't create a hard edge. So soft sky ink, and all I'm going to do is just come in once at the bottom there, and then fill in. And I'm going to mask, just using a piece of paper, the edge of my lighthouse, like so. And then turn that round, and the same again here. And because it's got a lovely sort of raggedy edge, you can get that sort of joining up of the waves. So it really does look like a lovely scape. Now to do the beam of light, I used some So Saffron, but again I stamped off first. I didn't want it too harsh, or rather I stamped off the first bit, and then you'll see from the card here, you look at it, actually on the second bit I forgot to stamp off, but it doesn't matter too much. So Saffron, stamp off, and there's our beam of light in one direction, stamp off, and lining up our two pieces of card, there's our beam of light in the next direction. And then what I want to do then is extend the beam all the way. So I'm actually going to mask that, stamp off, and just align that. Okay, so you've kind of got that beam of light coming all the way. Now what you can do with that is, if you didn't want it to be quite so obvious, a perfect way to do that is actually to come in with your blender pen, and if you just squeeze on the lid, this is a way of getting just a tiny bit of puddle of ink. So it's about right, and you'll see there, all I've done is I'm just blending away on that join just to smooth it out slightly. Okay. And that just it just sort of stops it being quite so obvious. Now you could do whatever you liked. I mean, some people like to put that as a bit of a night sky. I liked it as it was with the white. There is a moon in the set as well, so you've got the option to do a night scape. And as I say, I thought we might use one of the other sentiments on this, but again with a similar kind of vein. And this one I'm going to do again in I keep saying specific point. It's Pacific Point. And again, this is in high tide or low tide, I'll be by your side. So again, it's that same sort of feeling of offering sort of comfort and support to somebody at the time. So that's the front of our card. So I'm going to set that to one side and just show you what I'm going to do on the reverse of the card. I've just put a Sahara sand image on the back there. So you just need to quickly clean off your stamps with your stamping scrub. And I'm going to use Sahara sand ink to make sure that's nice and dry. But I want it to be really quite sort of faint. So although that's the darker image, I'm going to sort of stamp off first, just to give that almost a watercolour kind of effect. It's almost like a watermark, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get at. I was about to come in with the wrong stamp. So I'm just stamping off and then coming in, and I need to stand over it. So there we go. So there's a sort of faint effect of our lighthouse there as well. And I'll put a nice smudge in the middle of it. Okay, so the smudge isn't quite so great, but again, we can cover up a smudge by adding some sand or some sea. And I think in this case, what we might add to cover up those, as they're quite dark, are a couple of birds tripping along there, so I think that's going to be a strategic bird. A little bit blotchy, not perfect, but you know what? I'm sure we can manage to cover it up. And again, some Sahara sand. And this time I'm going to use it upside down so we don't get that. There you go. And then all that's left, actually, I've just realised, I knew it wasn't quite finished. We're going to come in and put some little plants in. So there we go, so that's the reverse of our card. And I can get some plants in on the front ones, there we go. So Old Olive again, quite a strong colour. So stamping off first just enables it to have a little bit of depth. So all that's left for us to do now is to cut our strips and assemble our card. So I'm just going to quickly pop my ink pads away as I seem to be having an inky moment. Pop all of those to one side, and then let's finish off our card. So, as I said, you need to trim it into 1 inch or 3 centimetre pieces. So if we use our trimmer, as I say, you can do that in beforehand if you want to. But I found I did it singly before, but I decided actually it would work far better if I did it as one piece to get that continuity going. No, actually, they should be 2.5 pieces. Okay, so this is what happens. I'll need to redo that part because you'll see I've cut it too close there. So let's put 1 at 2.5. So all I need to do is redo that piece to make the front of our card, because that's the effect that you want to have. Okay. So it always happens, you get almost to the end and then it all goes wrong. Okay. So, assembly job. So when you cut it up, don't do as I did and cut it into 3 centimetres. Do cut it, as I said, into 1 inch pieces, which is 2.5 centimetres. I'm usually quite good with measurements. And on the back, I'm actually going to use some fuse because you're covering over a seam here. So just come in with some fuse on the back of your piece of card. And then that is going to create a layer just on the back there, like so. So you will have a lovely card at the end of it, which is actually going to look a lot more like this one, because you're not going to make this mistake I did. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I hope you've enjoyed me making the mistakes. It's easy enough, it's only a piece of card, so I shall just re-stamp it and carry on, and we just won't have quite the same continuity that I had to start off with. Thanks for watching, bye for now, and if you want to buy any Stampin' Up supplies, please visit my store, which is the link the link is in the description bar below this, telling you about the video, or you can visit my blog, which has the links to my Stampin' Up shop as well. Bye for now and come back soon.